Hello from the Scorpio season. I'm Shivani, and this is the November Cosmic Breakdown. I'm so happy to bring this to you every month because, as I've said before, while we cannot obviously fully, no one can, in its full spectrum, predict the shock of what's going to unfold. It is always good to have kind of like a taste of what's kind of like the energy that we are entering into, so that even if we do not have the whole awareness and understanding, we at least have some sort of capacity, space, and preparedness of sort to just like, what do I say, soften the blow sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes also to take leverage of like when the planets are having good days. Because just like us, planets are having good days and their bad days, and that's life. So we begin on 4th November. Our month officially kind of like gets a boost after this eclipse on 29th October, kind of like recovering from it. And then at 4th November, we start feeling more productive, more directed, because Saturn has been retrograde since June. And so if you might look back, you might see like from June to uh, up until now, we were really being forced to see our responsibilities, because Saturn is the it's called the sky daddy in pop astrology, but by that it means that it's the father figure. So it is the teacher, it's the taskmaster. It teaches us about responsibilities. It is get shit done kind of an energy, right? And yeah, like do what needs to be done. And I feel like this time, even though it has been very frustrating sometimes, or it's been just like you're hitting roadblocks after roadblocks and you're just like, what's up? It really depends where you have Saturn in your chart and how deeply it's impacting you at the moment. Um, I feel like this pause, and every time a planet goes retrograde, and we had so many planets retrograde from up and probably till September. Um, yeah, like there were 5 or 6 planets in retrograde at one point. So we were like really being asked to review a lot of stuff. So when it comes to Saturn, we were really being asked to look at what are the things that we are avoiding, what are the things we are really, we care about, and we are happy to pour our energy and time and space into, and what are the things which are just a should, which are just we're doing for the heck of it. And so yeah, while it was frustrating because you were not like feeling that momentum to like tick off your to-dos, and there were some delays and stuff, at the same time it also gave us the opportunity to review and see, let me see, where am I just keeping myself busy for the heck of just being busy, as opposed to actually like this morning I didn't even think about Saturn going direct, but I just told my sister how actually so many times we are just doing things which don't even like matter so many times, right? Like because it should be done, or it's a part of the routine, or sometimes it's just what everybody else is doing, or it's just something which we feel like it just keeps things going, when in effect many times it's just like just that one action, that one thing which actually keeps the needle moving. So really I think like Saturn really got us to think and review and reflect on what is exactly which keeps the needle moving. And if you're getting burnout, then maybe you're pouring energy into things which either do not light you up, or which are, there's not an equal give and take. So how can you balance that out, right? So yes, it was a really a big lesson on energy management, on planner management, and how you're doing your days. And so I do feel like Saturn going direct gives us a lot more clarity to organize things, to put things together with this greater awareness now that we have, with the greatest information that we now have about how to distribute our energy and how to distribute our resources. Because see, there are just 24 hours in a day, right? As much as a manifesting generator, I would want to just do everything. It's not possible as a human, right? I have specific time, I have specific energy. And so obviously it reflects on my health whenever I spread myself too thin. Also because Saturn is in my sixth house of health. So I think really, like, if you haven't been like really consciously thinking about, then just take a moment to think about like what are the places, what are the lessons that you've really learned in the last few months since June up until now, about where are you taking too much responsibility and where you're not taking enough responsibility. And not to blame you or to shame you, and that's something which one needs to be really careful at, to be detached, to be objective when you look at these things, and to instead like just have that sense of like neutrality, to just course correct, instead of getting to the cycle of like, oh, how bad of you to not take responsibility here, or how bad of you to be wasting your time in this thing. It's just that we did not have that clarity or awareness, which we do have now. That's great. So use it to improve rather than shame. Yes? Then on 8th November, we have Venus entering Libra. Venus has been in Virgo for the past few weeks, and are obviously it's tricky when Venus is in Virgo because it doesn't like it, right? And Virgo doesn't like Venus being there, because sometimes what's actually beautiful is not apparently uh, productive enough, and what's actually pleasurable and productive enough is not always beautiful, or it's not always about satisfying, or it's not like gives us that sense of like, I always say Venus, if you really want to look at the essence of life, the nectar of life, it's Venus. And so Venus and Virgo together, it's like we were at a constant battle as to like, should I like prioritize my pleasure more, or should I be more productive, or being a perfectionist, because this Virgo energy really associates a certain sense of clean aesthetics. I really read this from a beauty blogger the other day on Substack. The Unpublishable, probably that's the name of her Substack, and she wrote about the clean aesthetics. That really clean, like this whole dad girl aesthetics which we have trending, is that really the epitome of clean and hygienic, or that's what the misunderstanding? And I was really, I chimed in to talk about the Virgo because I couldn't help but think about it. I have a Virgo rising, and for me, I've always associated beauty and professionalism with being clean, and not in a hygienic way, but more like in a sleek way, as the beauty industry promotes, which is obviously not something my curly wavy hair have ever been happy about. Moving on, Venus in Libra. What does that mean? Is that Venus is home? Libra is ruled by Venus, and so Venus is gonna feel really, really happy and joyful in Libra. And we have the Diwali season happening right now. Everything is gonna feel extra beautiful in the air. Everything is gonna like just look beautiful, and we're gonna feel beautiful. And so it's a great time to indulge into decor and into adding beauty into our everyday life. But also I feel like something that I was really contemplating about, because while Taurus and Libra, they are the two signs which are ruled by Venus, and sometimes yes, they can get indulgent, but that indulgence is not so much like Scorpio or Leo, which is I'm not saying it's bad, but sometimes it can be very money oriented. This is a beauty which you see, like when on a Diwali you're just taking a walk in your societies, and you see these beautiful basic lights, like the fairy lights I have in the background. They're so basic, they're cheap fairy lights, right? But it's so beautiful when it's just like it's outside, right? It doesn't cost a lot of money, but looks beautiful. And sometimes there's just beauty in just the most basic, right? You can create these moments of beauty, like when you're walking in the park, just the everyday tree standing there. That's beautiful. And so, yes, I do have a Jupiter in Libra, and I do understand the beauty of having handcrafted and like like these cashmere textiles, and like I understand the beauty of spending money, but also to understand that beauty is so much more than that. And so many of us are going through our own financial revolutions, personally and collectively. So if you're not in a space where you feel like, I feel like again Diwali is such a beautiful time to broaden your perspective around abundance and prosperity. Beauty is not just about how much money you spend. Prosperity is not just about how much money you make or spend. Yes, it's a part of it, a beautiful part of it, and I love that. We all love that, but let that not be the only epitome of that. Like, I see all of these construction noises happening because everybody's renovating their homes like in every 3 months, 6 months. Like, what's happening? Do we like really need that? Is it even like sustainable and ethical? I'm sorry. I cannot help but wonder, as much as I love beauty. There are other ways to add beauty into your life. Just because you have all the money in the world doesn't mean that, that's the only way to explore. Just because we have cheap labor available in India in that way. You got my point, right? So I think really thinking like Venus in Libra really makes us think and come back to like, is there beauty in also my everyday interactions? Is there beauty in the way I do my room, even if no one sees it? Is there beauty in the way I dress, even if it's not the most expensive thing? What is beauty for you? I think identifying that is super important, because so many times the capitalist culture will always like push you in a certain way to look at beauty in one thing. And you might say, how does beauty matter? But at the end of the day, so many things on which you splurge on, it is coming from the beauty. We all want more beauty. We want to experience more beauty, and we unfortunately haven't sold the idea that to feel beautiful, to get beautiful things, splurging is the only way. Yep. So on another side, Venus in Libra is also a beautiful energy to mingle, to talk, to connect. And while Scorpio season feels such a season of solitude, we also always have Diwali around this time. We always have opportunities to mingle and to connect. And when we have Venus in Libra, obviously that's an energy which just is so, it beams out that joy. And I think what helps is to just know that even if you don't feel like it, you can be you. You don't have to like pretend necessarily if you're out in the world. Maybe you can be out in the world and you can have interactions and you can connect and you can find that solidarity and that support and that connection, and that's probably an exchange of laughter and a moment of lightness, even as who you are and even in whatever season of life you are in right now. I think that's something that's coming really, really big for me. Authenticity. Like, you can have pleasure, you can have beauty, you can have, all of these beautiful things and beautiful experiences in life, even in the midst of darkness. And I feel like collectively that just makes so much sense right now, right? Wherever you are, how can you experience and honor and celebrate beauty as a way to express your gratitude, while also at the same time honoring whatever is conspiring. Yep. Then we have Mercury moving into Sagittarius on 10th November. Mercury moving into Sagittarius. Mercury has been in Scorpio, and many of us might have been speaking truths which were probably not okay with a lot of people. So Mercury, when it's in Scorpio, the mood is more like I want to research the fuck out of things, or I would just want to like speak my truth, and I just want to stand up for this thing. Sometimes it's actually so silent that it's a silent revolution, right? That's what the vibe has been for a month. And now, and sometimes it can just come out as a snide remark, and sometimes it can come out as sarcasm, and sometimes it can come out as really like cutthroat. But also very deep and very meaningful, and sometimes life-changing conversations happen when we have Mercury in Scorpio. So when we have Mercury in Sagittarius, again, see, everything is like the energy now turns from like being like brooding and thinking and researching and have gathering information to now like, what am I gonna do with this information, right? As I always feel like, even though it may seem like that, you know, be it in your chart or be it in what's happening in the astrology, it feels like everything is pulling you in different directions. No, it's always pulling us in one direction. It's always coming together beautifully. So while Saturn goes direct and a to-dos kind of get a little more organized, and because we have this clarity about where do I want to pour my energy into, and now we have like we'll be having Mars moving into Sagittarius, and I will be talking about it towards the end of this month. Everything is kind of like coming together to make sense of the things, right? There is a moment of reflection and pause, and there's a reflection to get things going and moving, right? So, talking about coming back to Mercury and Sagittarius, the way we speak, the way we communicate, the way we talk, it is going to be more philosophical. It's going to be more expansive because we have gathered a lot of information through the Scorpion Mercury, the Mercury in Scorpio. And so now we have this broader outlook on life. We have a broader outlook on our work, our relationships, and every sector of our life, you know, whatever you're dealing with at the moment. And so you get to like really think from a bigger perspective and have conversations in that way, right? So don't hold yourself back from having a philosophical conversation in a coffee shop with a stranger. That's Mercury in Sagittarius. Okay, do not hold yourself back from thinking about the infinite possibilities of what can happen in a relationship. Don't hold yourself back from exploring, from stepping into the unknown. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. That's what we're going to be stepping into in the Sagittarius season as well by 23rd. So when Mercury goes, our conversations all ready to start to move towards, you know, what this could be, or where could this go, or I'm curious, like approaching things with curiosity instead of a little bit of pessimism, which can come through the Scorpio, which does find it more hard to trust in the unknown as compared to the Sagittarius. Yes. This is followed by a new moon in Scorpio, so probably we need that optimism. We need that little bit of spark of trusting into the unknown, because we do have a new beginning coming to us on 13th November. Wow, beautiful date for a new moon in Scorpio. A new moon in Scorpio obviously got all the Scorpion vibes, the peak of the Scorpio season, mystical and witchy and like mysterious and deep and meaningful and profound and spiritual. I did a whole big long Substack on Scorpio season. So Scorpio season calls, you do read my Substack on that. But we have a new moon in Scorpio, which means that it is a new beginning after every real bit of bored and release that we saw with this last full moon on 29th October. It was like a big 2-year cycle specific version, what I feel like more. So when we have a new moon in Scorpio, it's like a new spiritual beginning. So we may have new spiritual relationships coming into existence. We have some manifestations coming to form. The eclipse season is over. It is actually a beautiful time to place some intentions, to do some witchy rituals, to write down your intentions, and to let the universe hear you, you know, and yeah, let these new beginnings take shape and form. As I said, Mercury in Sagittarius really helps to support this new beginning. So it's very important to trust into your intuition, which obviously the Scorpio season is like bang on, giving you that nudge to like get out of your mind, get back into your intuitive space. Because there are so many things that, you know, no matter how much time and energy you spend on figuring things out, at the end of the day, you have to bank on the trust and the intuitive inner knowing. Like, I just know it, you know, that thing. Yeah, that's what new moon in Scorpio is really about. It also conjuncts Mars and it is opposite Uranus. So when it conjuncts Mars, there would be added more pressure and drive and motivation to, if you like, to usher into the new beginnings. And because it's opposite Uranus, so there might be some surprises, some unexpected events, like a sense of like a kickoff, rebel, a sense of like, I didn't see that coming, you know. So if like, I feel like there can be good surprises as well, right? It's like, it doesn't have to be doomsday news always, right? So think of like, how can you allow yourself to expect surprises to come through you. And yeah, I feel like so much of everything is like asking us to step into our authenticity and our courage and what's true to you. So like by 30th November, I feel like we're getting like, I feel like eclipses already, and these 15 days the lead up will obviously make it more and more clear as to what is it that's actually true for me, and then you get to manifest or call in that, or just put out the intention to have to actually take an action towards that. Yeah. So on 22nd November, then we have the sun entering Sagittarius, and I already talked so much about Sagittarius, but when the sun enters Sagittarius, collectively we are going to be in the mood to have fun, to feel more expansive and positive. It can be like the weight, the cloudiness, the smog of those Scorpio season can feel like, you know, you can take a relief. Like, really depends, you know, which sign you are. Like, because I'm a water sign, for me Scorpio season feels so much more like a healing balm than other seasons. But really depends, you know, what your placements are. But when we step into Sagittarius season, it can feel like a, you know, a fire ignited in us, to take all that information we gathered in the Scorpio season and to do something about it. Like, yeah, to really like do something about it, or to go the distance. I feel, you know, Sagittarius is really that energy to go the distance and to like see what happens once you go there, instead of sitting there and thinking and overthinking and assuming and judging, you know. That's Sagittarius season for us, for right from 23rd November to 23rd December. So that's a spicy, exciting energy, because then we have Mars also joining in on 24th November into Sagittarius, and Mars is the planet of action. So again, lots of like, so see, if you basically want to have more action, fun stuff, that's like lined up for you in the second half of the month. Yep. The first half of the month is still like a more reflective, healing, receiving from your guides, the universe. Have a journal. If you don't have, I mean, you cannot not do without a journal or a pad, or like a notepad on your phone to just write on things. Like, downloads are just coming through. Yes, Scorpio season, it's the most intuitive season. When we enter the Sagittarius season, as I said, the fire, because when 24th November Mars joins it, it's the fire. It gets super ignited. It gets like, yes, let's go, let's explore. Let me see what happens if I go there, you know. And 27th November, we finally have a full moon in Gemini, which is where we end the November energy read, because having a full moon in Gemini is like, it is going to inspire and motivate us into sharing our ideas with the world. So while the Scorpio season has been super rich in deep introspection and in loving ourselves and pouring into ourselves and drawing lines and boundaries and honoring who we are, where we are, like when the full moon arrives after the new moon in Scorpio, the full moon in Gemini is going to be like, cool, that's nice. How can we talk? How can we communicate? How can we share about this awareness to the world, to people around us, to whoever needs to hear my truth? How are you going to talk? So the full moon in Gemini is going to inspire many conversations, many moves which ask us to communicate. Maybe you get a writing project off the ground, maybe you start publishing, maybe you start a podcast channel, maybe you complete one and put it out in the world, or maybe finish off a project. But there's a sense of communicating to the world, and especially I feel like always full moons are tied to this. Like, think about the new moon in Gemini, so that was probably in June again. So a lot of things which started in June are now coming into fruition here. Late May or June. So see how that like pans out in fruition. Is there any conversation which needs to happen? Is there something or somewhere you need to go? Someone you need to talk to? Someone you need to get in touch with again, or someone who who can really help you in moving forward in your projects or in your work situations. Like, get that the Gemini energy is always about like, I know this person. Like, I have a Gemini midheaven and I'm always like, okay, I know this person. That's the magic of the Gemini. Okay, so use this energy to collaborate, use this energy to get out networks, or to sometimes just express who you are. Maybe an important conversation needs to have in a relationship, and I do feel like this is so much more personal. Sometimes it can be just putting yourself out there. Like, I had somebody sharing her beautiful poetry out on Instagram, and she was like, thank you so much for inspiring me to be vulnerable. And yeah, I'm having these vulnerability scaries, but I really want to share who I really am. I'm like, that's exactly what we're talking about. So sometimes we do it just for ourselves, not for any profit, gain, or interest, specifically, but just for who you are. Sometimes we do it for love. Sometimes we do it for harmony, peace. Sometimes we do it for a co-creation. Whatever that reason may be, if you feel inspired and pulled towards, see how this energy asks you to share, trust and share, because you're in the Sagittarius season. See what might happen, explore, go the distance. You won't know if you don't. You never know. All right, that is all for me. If you want to check out more about I will be also starting my paid Substacks, where I would be sharing my astrology learnings as well as human design learnings every month. So hopefully you're starting it just right after this. You'll receive it in your email if you're already a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, you can subscribe to my Substack, and you'll receive when I start a new section, a new container for it. And I would be really happy if you would be here to support my journey and to also learn, because I feel like so many times you don't have to do a course, but you just want to apply it to your personal life. And that's how I have been learning about astrology for the past 12, 13, 14 years. um and yeah, like it's fun sometimes to it's really insightful to just learn about yourself. And as I learn more about me, as I apply, I'll be sharing a nugget of it every single month in some podcast or a article, whatever medium I feel most aligned to at that time. So yeah, it would be really the price of a coffee, not more than that. And we can be friends in a whole new space. And if you want to explore one-on-one sessions with me, all the links down below. If you also want to learn astrology, I have created a level 1 astrology. So if you're super new, super beginner, you don't understand any bit of it, you want to learn more, you want to at least learn the basics of understanding when you see someone's natal chart or just yours, then you can really like sign up for my astrology level 1 workshop. You can purchase it and have it for your lifetime. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. As always, it means the world to me when anybody listens to this, receives this information. Do let me know how it resonates to you. I'm sending you so much love.